I'm Aylin. My sister said I was too country to be part of her wedding, so they cut me from the guest list. Not just that they used my money to fund it, then pretended I never existed. I withdrew my investment, and just like that the whole wedding collapsed. But what hurt most, it wasn't the exclusion. It was realizing they'd been planning it all behind my back. No thank you, no apology, just silence and a pretty Instagram caption. The text came through just as I was rinsing dirt from my hands. Sunlight was hitting the kitchen window at that perfect angle. Warm, golden, almost forgiving. For a second I thought it might be something sweet from Callista. A silly meme. A last-minute question about the lavender I'd promised to bring for her wedding centerpieces. But instead I read, "Hey, just wanted to let you know the guest list is finalized. Had to make some tough cuts. Hope you understand. Love you." I blinked, reread it once, twice, then again. Tough cuts. I whispered to myself, barely audible over the hum of the fridge. I wasn't her hairdresser. I wasn't the girl from her Pilates class she occasionally drank rose with. I was her sister, her only sister. And somehow I had become a casualty in the war of wedding aesthetics. My thumb hovered over the screen. Maybe she sent it to the wrong person. Maybe this was meant for someone else. A distant cousin, a college roommate. But no, my name was right there at the top. I set my phone on the counter face down like it had just insulted me to my face. It wasn't like I hadn't seen the red flags waving in slow motion over the last few weeks. There was the bridesmaid style guide. She emailed everyone, thinly veiled under the subject line classy and cohesive, let's glow up. That email had done something to me. No denim, no boots, and please no country prints. Let's keep things modern and Malibu. Modern and Malibu. I was neither. I was Waco. I was fields and calloused palms and sundresses from last summer's clearance rack. But apparently that didn't fit the new narrative she was trying to curate. I should have known then. When image came before people, especially her own blood, it wasn't a wedding. It was a brand launch, and I didn't match the brand. So I tried to play nice. I'd laughed at her tasteless farm girl gone glam jokes. I'd stayed quiet when she asked if I could maybe tone it down a little for the rehearsal dinner. And now here it was, the truth served up in a text that read like a soft punch to the gut. I stood by the sink, hands still wet, heart louder than my thoughts. I thought about calling Mom, but I knew exactly how that would go. She'd pick up, her voice all fake sunshine. "Sweetheart, don't be dramatic. It's just a wedding." And when I told her how much I'd helped Callista financially, emotionally, physically, she'd say, "It's not about that, honey. It's about keeping the peace." What peace? The kind where I stayed quiet while being slowly edited out of the family photo. The kind where my presence was too loud for Cashin's law firm crowd. Now I could already feel the script they'd rehearsed behind my back. Aylin's being sensitive again. She takes things so personally. She always wants to be the center of attention. I didn't want to be the center. I just wanted to be in the damn room. I walked outside. The sun was setting just beyond the rows of rosemary and mint. The air smelled of earth and lemon balm, calming in a way nothing else was. I knelt down near the irrigation pipe, tugging a stubborn weed from between the herbs. That was the thing about weeds. They never asked for permission. They just existed. And people either dealt with them or pretended they weren't there. For years I'd pretended, smiled through things that hurt, paid bills no one remembered, showed up when no one else would. But this was something different. My phone buzzed again. I didn't check it. It was probably Mom, or worse, some passive-aggressive text from Callista with an Instagram link to her newest bridal robe reveal. I don't remember how long I stayed out there. An hour, maybe more. Knees in dirt. Head replaying every time Callista cried into my lap over some boy. Every time Mom praised her for glowing up while telling me I looked sturdy and dependable, sturdy like a damn tractor. I walked back inside. My phone was still face down on the counter, silent now. I picked it up, stared at the message one more time. The tone, the fake warmth, the cowardice it took to send that kind of betrayal in text. I smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile you wear when you're done. When something inside you quietly, irreversibly snaps. I deleted the message. And just like that I began to wonder if family ties were ever real or just convenient. The next week blurred by in a strange haze, like walking through fog with your hands out, hoping to grab hold of something that feels familiar. I kept waiting for a follow-up from Callista, some sort of explanation, even a half-hearted apology dressed up as a joke, but the silence stretched thick and deliberate. One night I found myself mindlessly scrolling through Instagram in the kitchen, standing barefoot in front of the fridge, eating leftover peach pie straight from the tin. I wasn't even thinking about the wedding anymore. I was trying not to. Then I saw it. Bridal shower highlights. Thank you Cashin's amazing family for sponsoring our dream wedding. A photo of Callista midlife hair perfectly curled surrounded by champagne glasses and white hydrangeas. Every tag led back to his mother's floral boutique, his sister's event company and their father's country club. Not one mention of me. Not one. I stared at the screen so long my thumb started to cramp. I refreshed the post just to be sure I didn't miss something. Maybe I was tagged in a comment or a story. Nothing. I scrolled down. A few hundred likes, a dozen comments. You're glowing. Cashin's fam is goals. This is going to be wedding of the year. My heart didn't sink. Calcified. $40,000. That's how much I had given them. Quietly without fanfare. I wired deposits for the venue. The caterer even helped cover the early shipments on her custom gown. When she said she was overwhelmed, I stepped in because that's what sisters do. And now I was a ghost at my own funeral. I set the phone down and leaned against the counter. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the room. That hum and the rising pulse in my ears. I thought back to the nights I stayed on the phone with Callista after each breakup. The one after Jake when she sobbed so hard she threw up and I held her hair back, or the time she couldn't pay rent and mom said she'd have to figure it out on her own. I didn't hesitate. I drove 6 hours with a rent check and a casserole, but none of that mattered now. It didn't fit the picture-perfect narrative. I picked the phone back up. The post was still there, still perfect, still full of glitter and gratitude for everyone but me. I don't know how long I stood there staring, but at some point I whispered out loud, she really erased me. There's a kind of betrayal that doesn't come with shouting or slam doors. It's quieter, more intentional, and somehow it hurts worse. Against my better judgment I called Mom. She answered on the second ring, voice chipper like she'd just stepped out of a commercial for Lemon's furniture polish. Hey sweetheart. Everything okay? I swallowed my frustration and asked as gently as I could. Why didn't Callista mention me in her post? There was a pause. Not long, just long enough. Oh honey, don't worry about that, she said, her voice taking on that soothing, dismissive tone I'd come to loathe. You know how social media is. It's just fluff. Don't take it so seriously. I closed my eyes. Mom, I helped pay for the wedding. I know, and we're all grateful. No you're not, I said, cutting her off. If you were, I wouldn't be scrolling through comments about Cashin's amazing family while pretending I don't exist. She sighed. That sigh, the one that meant here she goes again. You're reading into things too much. You always do this. You take things so personally. I pulled the phone away from my ear for a second, staring at it like maybe it would apologize for her. It didn't. Right, I muttered, my voice suddenly cold. I guess I expected too much. We're not ungrateful, Aylin. You're being overly sensitive and it's not becoming. That last word hit harder than she realized. Not becoming, like I was an ill-fitting dress or a bad joke at a baby shower. I hung up without saying goodbye. Back in the kitchen I stood there motionless. The silence now wasn't comforting. It felt like I'd been left behind in a house that no longer belonged to me. I picked up my phone again and opened my banking app. There was the final installment I'd promised for the florist, scheduled to go out in 2 days. My finger hovered over the cancel payment button. I didn't press it, not yet. But for the first time I wanted to, because suddenly it wasn't just about a missed invitation. It wasn't even about a wedding anymore. It was about how easily they could write me out of the story and still expect me to pay for the ending. And that's when I realized I wasn't just being excluded. I was being erased. I didn't cancel the payment that night, but I didn't sleep either. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan spin in slow circles, my mind unraveling every moment, every choice, every yes I'd said to keep the peace. That word had become a curse. Peace. The kind of peace that demanded silence from people like me so that others could live loudly without guilt. A few mornings later I was pouring coffee into my chipped white mug when a memory hit me so hard it made my stomach twist. It was during one of the early wedding planning calls when things still felt soft, safe. Callista was buzzing with ideas, bouncing between venue options and bridal shower themes. I remember Mom chiming in through speakerphone. Aylin, of course you'll be the maid of honor, she said like it was obvious. You've always been the one holding us together. I'd laughed back then, unsure if I deserved that kind of credit, but I believed her. I believed that no matter how different we were, I had a place in all of this. That conversation was never brought up again. Weeks passed. Suddenly Callista's childhood best friend took center stage. Then Cashin's cousin. And finally, during one of her many Instagram announcements, the official maid of honor was revealed. Cashin's sister Eloise. Polished, polite, picture perfect. I didn't even get a text. I should have asked, but I didn't want to seem needy, so I waited, hoping maybe they'd explain. They didn't. Then, like the universe was ready to peel back the last curtain, it happened. I was pulling weeds along the east side of the house when my phone buzzed. Odessa, my cousin Callista's friend from college. She was part of the bridal group chat, always tried to play neutral, though she never hid the fact that she thought Callista could be a little much. Her text came in with no warning. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Meant to send this to Lisa. Please ignore. Below it a screenshot. I wasn't ready, but I opened it. It was from their bridal planning thread. I saw Callista's name first, followed by her message. My sister is sweet but totally off-brand. Can we just keep it tight? Cashin doesn't even want her there. Off-brand, like I was a poorly designed flyer or a bad scent in a fancy candle store. Beneath that, Mom had replied, let's keep it small. No need to explain everything to her. I froze. The words sat on the screen like wet cement. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't about guest limits or seating charts or image. It was a plan, one I wasn't supposed to see. And suddenly I saw everything clearly. Every awkward pause, every dodged call, every time I was told to relax or not take it personally. It had always been personal. I stared at the screenshot for a long time. Then I saved it and put it in a folder I renamed Truth. There was no more pretending now. I wasn't the overreacting sister. I wasn't the insecure one. I was the invisible one. And not by accident but by design. I sat on the back steps, the phone resting in my lap like a confession. My pulse was steady, but something inside me had gone rigid. The kind of stillness that comes before a wildfire. I think I'm done, I whispered to no one. Not out of rage, not out of heartbreak, just out of clarity. They didn't want me there. Not the real me. Not the version who cried with Callista after her first heartbreak. Not the sister who paid for her emergency dentist visit when she cracked a tooth on cheap taffy. Not the one who worked 2 extra shifts last fall to help cover that non-refundable deposit. They wanted the illusion of family, not the roots. I deleted the message from Odessa. Not out of forgiveness, but because I didn't need more proof. The truth had already landed. Later that evening I walked out to the edge of my property. The sky was all pink and gold, the kind of color that almost makes you believe in peace again. But the calm I felt wasn't forgiveness. It was preparation, because something had shifted. And I knew deep in my bones that I couldn't walk this back. They thought I'd take it quietly. I had other plans. I didn't pick up when my mother first called. Something about her name lighting up my screen made my stomach turn. But she was persistent. 3 calls in an hour and then a text. Can we just talk for a minute, please? I hesitated. My phone was already warm in my palm from dodging her. Eventually I gave in and called back. She answered instantly. Sweetheart, I was just about to try again. She chirped, her voice too sweet, too polished, like she'd rehearsed it. I sat on the porch swing, cradling my tea in both hands. What do you want, Mom? He gave a little laugh. The kind people use when they're stalling. I just wanted to check and see how you're doing. You've been quiet. I didn't respond. I let the pause stretch just to see how long she could keep pretending this was a casual conversation. Finally she got to it. Look, honey, I know things have gotten a little complicated with Callista's planning, but I need you to remember something. Here it came. Let's not make this into something dramatic, she said, voice low and composed. Just be the bigger person, okay? My breath caught in my throat. She wasn't here to comfort me. She was here to manage me. You don't want to ruin Callista's day. This is her moment, she continued, like I hadn't been cut out of that moment with surgical precision. We don't need any tension or drama overshadowing things. Can you just keep things graceful? There was that word again, graceful. Graceful meant silent. Graceful meant smiling while I was erased. Graceful meant funding a celebration I wasn't invited to and pretending that was normal. I set my tea down. My voice came out steady, more than I expected. If you want me to pretend everything's fine while you erase me, I'm not that girl anymore. She blinked on the other end, I could feel it. Aylin, don't start this again. You always do this. No, I cut in calm and sharp. What I always do is keep quiet while everyone else gets to hurt me. As long as they do it politely. Aylin, that's not fair. Neither is spending thousands of dollars on a wedding I'm not welcome at, Mom. A beat of silence. You're twisting things. I'm just not ignoring them anymore. I could feel the shift in her tone the moment her patience thinned. We're trying to keep peace. Why are you making this about you? I laughed under my breath. A short, bitter sound. Because I've spent my whole life making everything about everyone else. She didn't respond. And that silence told me more than any apology ever could. That night I couldn't sleep. I scrolled through Instagram again, curiosity, habit, punishment, I wasn't sure which. When I typed Callista's name into the search bar, nothing came up. Not her main page, not the wedding page, not even the bridal shower tag. I clicked on a tagged post from someone else's feed. When I tapped her name, a message popped up. User not found. I checked with my farm account, the one I used to follow local produce trends. Her page was still there. She hadn't deleted it. She'd blocked me. Not unfollowed, not muted. Blocked like I didn't exist. Every tag, every wedding update, every curated smile and champagne clink. It was all still happening, just without me. It was official. I wasn't just out. I was scrubbed. I sat in that quiet, my chest heavy and hollow all at once. No more illusions. No more wondering if I was imagining things. They'd made their choice. I opened my phone's notepad and typed a single sentence. When they choose the image over the person, they lose both. I read it twice, then saved it. That line would be my anchor. I caught my reflection in the window, tired but clear-eyed. I whispered to interview, "You're done being their quiet backup." And I meant it. 2 days had passed since I saw Callista's name vanish from my feed. 2 days of steady, bitter quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in the bones like an old fridge in the dark. It was close to midnight when Odessa called. I almost didn't pick up, but something about the timing, about her name lighting up my screen that late, told me this wasn't casual. When I answered, her voice was hushed, shaky. "Aylin, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but you deserve to know." I leaned back in my desk chair, legs crossed under the table, a cold glass of tea sweating next to my laptop. "What is it?" I asked, even though I already knew it wasn't going to be good. There was a pause, like she was weighing every word. Cashin gave Callista an ultimatum. She finally said, "He told her if you came to the wedding it would reflect badly on them image-wise. That's how he said it. You didn't fit the brand." I stared at the stack of vendor folders on my desk. Contracts, receipts, wire confirmations, the weight of all the planning I'd helped carry. "Your mom didn't fight it," Odessa added quietly. I was in the chat. She just said, "Let's keep it small. No need to upset Aylin unnecessarily. Like you were a ticking bomb." I swallowed hard. My mouth felt dry. "They didn't want you there. Not because of space or cost," she said, almost whispering now. "They just didn't want you." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in silence, letting her words coat the walls of the room. "You okay?" she asked. "I'm clear," I replied. After we hung up, I sat in front of my laptop, staring at the blinking cursor. One by one I opened the vendor sites. Floral design, catering, photography, all under my name, all prepaid or pending. The funny thing about control is how quietly it shifts. For months I'd thought I was helping, supporting, holding it all up. But they'd let me pay for the scaffolding just so they could paint over me. I pulled up the contracts, logged into the accounts, and began them one by one. Venue terminated. Florist refunded. Caterer cancelled with penalty. But it was worth it. It took me 23 minutes to undo $40,000 worth of blind loyalty. And when I shut my laptop, I didn't feel guilt. I felt clean. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of wine, and opened my email. To Callista, Cashin Delora. Subject: change of plans. Please update your financials. I've removed myself from all remaining wedding contracts. Effective immediately. You wanted me out. Consider it official. No warmth. No apology. Just facts. I hit send and closed the laptop again. No one replied. Not right away. I took a sip of wine, then grabbed my phone. I opened the travel app. I'd always told myself I couldn't justify a real vacation. Not while everyone else needed something, but now I needed something. Puerto Rico. Ocean view suite, adults only, zero family drama. I clicked confirm. The tickets were booked. They took my silence as surrender. But this was war, and I just made my first move. The air inside the airport felt still and chilled, a kind of quiet only interrupted by the rolling wheels of carry-ons and the occasional overhead announcement. I moved through it like someone sleepwalking, only I'd never been more awake in my life. I had one small suitcase packed light, just a few linen dresses, a swimsuit, a paperback I'd started 3 times but never finished. I didn't bring anything sentimental. No photos, no keepsakes, no just-in-case items. I didn't need reminders of what I was leaving behind. The lounge was quiet when I checked in. I found a seat by the window, ordered a mimosa, and let my body sink into the silence. For the first time in weeks I felt untangled. Then my phone buzzed. Odessa. The message preview read, "You're not going to believe what just happened." I opened it without hesitation. She'd sent a voice memo. I pressed play. Her voice came through low and nervous. "Aylin, Grandma tried to speak up for you this morning. Told Callista it was wrong to cut you out. Said the wedding felt off. Callista told her to stop ruining the mood. Then she asked her to step away from the planning altogether." I stared at the wall across from me, stunned. Agatha, our grandmother, was the one person in the family who never played politics. She was the only one who didn't flinch at telling the truth. If they had no problem discarding her, then there was no line left to cross. I typed back, "Then I'm doing the right thing." Odessa responded instantly, "You are. Honestly, I wish I could go with you." I smiled for the first time all morning. It was sad, but it was honest. I watched the minutes pass on the screen overhead. Soon they called boarding for my gate. I stood, gathered my bag, and walked to the terminal with calm, deliberate steps. No panic, no second-guessing. Just before I stepped onto the jet bridge, I paused, pulled out my phone, and snapped a photo of my mimosa glass. Still sweating from the ice. I added a caption and posted it to my story. "If you want me invisible, I'll make it easy." Then I turned my phone to airplane mode. Inside the plane, I found my seat by the window. The leather was warm, the cabin dim and quiet. I buckled and leaned back and exhaled deeper than I had in months. As the plane began to taxi, I looked outside. The sky was starting to soften into the blush tones of late afternoon. I didn't feel bitter. I didn't even feel angry. I felt clear. Callista could have her big day. Delora could manage her image. Cashin could curate his guest list like a magazine spread. They could all move forward pretending I'd never been part of it. And I was done pretending I wanted to be. As the wheels lifted off the runway and the city grew smaller below me, I whispered, not to anyone in particular, but maybe to the version of me I just left behind. Let them go. They cut me out, but when the fire started, I was already in the sky chasing peace. I woke up to sunlight spilling across white sheets and the soft sound of waves lapping the shore outside my balcony. The Caribbean air was still warm even in the early morning. For once I didn't need an alarm or a list of things to do. No deadlines, no expectations. I stretched, reached for the room service button, and ordered breakfast. Pancakes, fresh mango slices, coffee with cream. I didn't think about the wedding, not even once, until my phone buzzed. Then again and again. I rolled over and blinked at the screen. Odessa 8 messages. Delora 3 missed calls. Callista 2 missed calls. 4 texts. I sat up slowly, not rushing. I took a sip of the coffee someone had just delivered to my patio and opened Odessa's messages. The first one, "Call me now. It's insane." Then a voice memo followed. I pressed play. "Aylin." He walked out. "I'm serious." Cashin, during the reception, they got into a screaming match behind the scenes and he just left. Left the building. I blinked. "What?" Odessa's voice continued, shaky and too fast. The DJ stopped playing for like 10 minutes. People were whispering. "Your mom tried to keep the program going, but it was already unraveling." Then Uncle Pete started yelling at her in front of everyone. Grandma was crying. "I mean, it's a mess. It's bad, Aylin." I leaned back in the chair, letting it sink in. Cashin walked out at his own wedding. My first reaction wasn't joy or satisfaction. It was disbelief. The kind that bubbles up slowly like steam rising from a cracked pot. My phone buzzed again. A text from Delora. "This is not the time to be petty. Callista needs you." I let out a dry laugh. Petty. Then another came through. "Callista, where are you? He won't answer me. I need you, please." And then Odessa again. "Now they're trying to spin this like it's your fault, saying if you'd been there maybe he wouldn't have left." I put the phone down gently, like it might break if I squeezed it too hard. There it was. The final twist. I wasn't invited. I was pushed out, deleted, erased. But now that everything was burning to the ground, suddenly I was the one they needed. I stood up and stepped out onto the balcony. The sea shimmered under a cloudless sky as if mocking the chaos happening somewhere back in California. I took a photo of my mimosa and ocean view, then added a caption before posting it. "Cut from the guest list." Somehow still the headline act. No emojis, no filter. I stared out at the horizon for a while, listening to the gentle roar of waves crashing below. Peace wasn't always silent. Sometimes it sounded like the absence of expectations. I picked my phone back up one last time, not to respond but to whisper quietly into the warm Caribbean air. Not my circus, not my shame. And I meant every word. They wanted me gone, and when it all fell apart they came running. I woke up to the gentle hum of ceiling fans and the soft rustle of palm leaves brushing against the balcony railing. The sea stretched wide and unbothered beyond the glass doors, unaware or maybe just uninterested in the drama unraveling. Back home I reached for my phone. 32 missed calls, dozens of texts, voicemails, group messages, and even a couple of unknown numbers. The first voicemail was from Delora. Her voice cracked halfway through. She's devastated. You're her sister, Aylin. This isn't how families handle things. Please just call us back. We need you. Then came Callista's message. Please don't abandon me. I know I messed everything up. I was scared. I thought it would be easier if you weren't there, but it wasn't. It was worse. He's gone and I need my sister. I let the phone fall to my lap, my fingers still curled around its edges. I didn't feel the way I expected to feel. Not triumphant, not even angry, just tired. The kind of tired that settles in your bones after years. Concurrent, giving parts of yourself away without noticing. The kind of tired that comes from holding a family together while they quietly act like you're the extra limb no one talks about. I walked barefoot to the lounge chair by the balcony and sat down, letting the sun hit my skin. Not too much, not too little, just enough. A flashback rolled in uninvited, the day Mom first promised I'd be Callista's maid of honor. We were sitting in the backyard sipping iced tea. She said it casually, like there was never a question. Of course it'll be you, honey. You're the one she always leans on. And for a little while I believed that. But then came the edits, the evasions, the shift in tone, the carefully curated bridal party post with no mention of me. Now looking back, it all seemed so deliberate, like they were gently phasing me out, hoping I wouldn't notice until I was too quiet or too far away to stop them. I wasn't in their picture. I never really was. I'd been a placeholder, someone to call in the middle of the night or when a deposit was due. But once the cameras came out, once the speeches were written and the seating chart laminated, they made sure there was no room for me. I opened a new message, typed slowly, deliberately. To Callista. I'm not doing this to punish you. I'm doing this to protect me. I hope one day you understand, but today I'm choosing peace, and that means distance. Then to Delora. You always told me to keep the family together, but sometimes what looks like keeping peace is just covering up the damage. I'm done covering. I hit send on both. Then I blocked their numbers. Not out of cruelty, out of necessity. I needed space, not just in miles but in silence. The kind of silence where healing could grow. Later that evening I walked out to the edge of the infinity pool. The sky was dressed in pinks and golds, like it had no idea there was anything ugly in the world. I snapped a photo of the view, posted it with the final caption I'd ever write about this whole mess. I didn't disappear. I just finally arrived somewhere I'm valued. The sun dipped lower. I sipped from my glass, exhaled slowly, and let the peace settle in. They burned the bridge. I just made sure it stayed down. The mornings in Puerto Rico had become sacred. I sat on the balcony, feet tucked beneath me, a warm mug of coffee in my hands. The sky was soft blue, not yet touched by the harsh light of midday. The ocean, steady and endless, breathed for me when I didn't want to think too hard. It had been a week since the wedding imploded. A week since Cashin walked out, a week since Callista stopped calling because she had no way to anymore. The silence on my phone was louder than I thought it would be, but not in the way I feared. It wasn't lonely. It was honest. For the first time in my life, no one expected me to fix anything. I hadn't checked my email. I hadn't logged into my work portal. I hadn't even asked myself what I'd do next. Because for once I didn't need to have an answer. Then that afternoon Odessa messaged me. She sent a photo of something handwritten, folded over yellow paper that looked like it had been kept in someone's purse too long. From Grandma. She asked me to send it to you. The handwriting was delicate. Careful. Aylin, you were right to walk. They will learn in your silence what they ignored in your words. But forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. So your soul can rest and keep growing. I see you. Always have. Love, Grandma Agatha. I read it 3 times. Then I set the phone down, leaned forward, and let the tears come. Not loud, not violent, just soft and slow, like waves tapping against the shore. She had seen me. Someone had. And somehow that made all the difference. The next morning a notification popped up. Time to check in for your return flight. I stared at it, didn't move, didn't feel panic. I didn't want to go back, not because I was running from something, but because I was finally running towards something that felt like mine. I opened the travel app and booked another week. Not as an escape, as a choice. Later that evening I joined a few other travelers for a bonfire on the beach. We didn't talk about work or family drama or broken weddings. We talked about books, the way plantains are better fried than baked, and how sea air changes your dreams. No one asked, "Where are you from?" They asked, "Who are you becoming?" I didn't have a perfect answer, but I smiled and said, "Someone who finally stopped apologizing for being real." I may have lost my place in their family, but I found something better. My place with myself. As the fire cracked and the stars brightened overhead, I pulled out my phone and took one final photo. Not of the chaos, not of the pain, but of the light. I added this caption. There isn't one. Because this time I'm not going back. I'm writing something new. And just like that, the story I never meant to tell had its ending. But I was only just beginning. Before I let you go, let me say this. I used to believe that loyalty meant staying even when it hurt. That being the bigger person meant shrinking myself to keep the peace. But peace built on silence isn't peace at all. It's self-abandonment. Walking away from people you love, especially family, isn't easy. It leaves a scar. But sometimes choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. And if my story sounds anything like yours, I want you to know you are allowed to outgrow the roles they assigned you. You are allowed to redefine love. And most of all, you are allowed to leave the table when respect is no longer being served. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone just to find your peace? Do you believe family should always come first, or is it time we start asking if we're part of that family too? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and comment one so I know you're out there. Tell me where you're watching from. Whether it's New York, Nebraska, or just a quiet kitchen like mine. And hey, if you didn't like this video, that's okay too. Let me know why in the comments. Your honesty matters here. If you want more real stories like this, stories about choices, wounds, boundaries, and healing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I'll be here every week sharing more stories that hit home and maybe help you find your voice too. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes peace starts with the decision to stop explaining yourself. I'll see you in the next.